What's up guys, Shane Starnes here, and if you're like me, then just about everything in your home is connected to Wi-Fi. So that being said, you really need a good, strong Wi-Fi 6 connection. So I've got TVs, laptops, even light bulbs and light switches, my doorbell. Everything in my house is connected to Wi-Fi. I find that if I use just the router that came with my ISP in my house, which is about 4,500 square feet, I actually drop connection all the time and I get notifications that smart devices have disconnected from the network. The best way to improve Wi-Fi in your home is with a Wi-Fi mesh system. Today we're going to be taking a look at the MH7603 whole home mesh Wi-Fi system by Motorola. Big shout outs to Motorola for sponsoring this video. Let's go ahead and get started. I always like to start out with an unboxing, so let's go ahead and get this out of the box and see what all comes with the mesh system. Just kind of open this up here, and it looks like we have 3 mesh points. We've got a whole box here with all of our power cords. It even comes with an Ethernet cord so that you can plug your first mesh point directly into your modem. All right, and then it looks like we have a quick setup guide. So the first thing that we'll do for setup is go to the Play Store or the App Store on iPhone, and we're going to download this Moto Sync app, and we'll use that to get this all set up. After you have set up an account, you're going to go and set up a new device. All right, and then it looks like we're going to scan the QR code. Before we set this up, I want to kind of give you a tour of the device. So you've got a Motorola logo up top, you have an indicator light on the front. On the bottom here, you have some vents. There's a QR code which we're going to use to get this set up later. You have some foot pads here to create a little bit of a airspace, and then on the back you have a connection. This is for your LAN ports here. You can turn off the built-in Wi-Fi in your modem and connect the first mesh point directly to the modem. You've got a USB-C for your power. There is a factory reset button over here, and then you've got another port that you can plug devices into. Now, if you were to hardwire this away from your router, you can actually run an Ethernet from your router into another room and then hardwire this. That way it's not having to use wireless. That would probably be the best solution. But if you don't have an easy way to run that wire, then you can connect these wirelessly. This is wanting us to scan the QR code to get this set up. So we'll go ahead and scan the QR code. Okay, the device has been added. Says your router has been added to the MotoSync account. Okay, great. I'm gonna go next. Okay, it says if you have an old router, completely unplug it. Unplug your internet device from power too. So we'll go ahead and do that now as well. All right, so we'll go ahead and unplug this from power. Try to do it one-handed. All right, so that has now been powered off and we should be good to go. Okay, so it does say here that whenever we plug this up, we're going to be using the left port, so the port that has the little globe. And it does say that if you have multiple devices, which we do, we're gonna use the one that we actually scan the QR code for. Okay, so I've got my Ethernet plugged up directly to the back of my modem, so we should be able to move forward. Okay, so I'm assuming at this point we're gonna power up everything. The application did not tell us to power everything up, but it says that we're looking for a blue blinking light, so I assume that means we need to add power. So I'm going to go ahead and power up my ISP modem, and I'm going to power up the new Motorola router. Okay, so we are pulsing blue. I decided not to plug in my ISP router yet. Maybe it will tell me to do that in the next step, but we're pulsing blue, so we should be able to move forward. It says your router is connecting to the MotoSync cloud so it can stay updated. Okay, so this tells me that we should have had the ISP router connected, so I'm going to do that now. All right, that did the trick. It says that we are now connected, so we'll move on. Would you like to set up an extender? That's what we're going to do now. So we'll go ahead and add an extender, and we'll scan the code and kind of walk through the process. So after just a little bit of trial and error, I did have to move my mesh point a little bit closer to the main router, the first one that we plugged in. I was able to get it connected, went on ahead and got the second mesh point connected, and then it even gave me an option to change the name and password of the network. So I changed it to Shane as the name and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 as the password. Of course, you can control all of your devices within the MotoSync application, and you get some really cool security features. So right here you can see it says 2 threats detected. It's showing me that 2 of my devices connected to the network. Those are not actually a threat. But if we go into the security center, it's showing whether or not malware is detected on the network, and it shows me known vulnerabilities that are detected. It did see that I had 2 devices to join the network. We also have a full home filter, which I have turned off now, but we can turn that on. All right, so here you can actually filter individuals via profiles. So if you don't want the filters turned on every device, you can make them device specific. You can also monitor the network usage, the data that's collected, and even the time spent. When you create a profile, you can schedule when the internet can be accessed. You can choose the days of the week. So if you only want them to be limited, say during the school week or the work week, you can limit devices for however many hours during the weekdays. And you can set up a profile filter specific to that device. So you can block known malicious websites. You can choose to block ads for that device. You can turn on safe mode so that things that you don't want that person to see cannot be searched for, and you can also choose to block adult content. Under the filter, you also have the option to do that on an entire network basis. So if you want those things blocked for your entire network, you're able to do that here as well. Also wanted to make mention that you can do a speed test from within the MotoSync app. So we'll go ahead and do that now. One thing that I love about this is not only is it going to give you the actual speed that your network is capable of, but it's also going to tell you what you can do on your network with those speeds. So of course you can do web browsing, you can stream music, and you can do gaming and stream up to 4K video. So I think that's cool that it shows you what all your network can support with those speeds. It gives you a usage report for each device on the network, showing you how much data was used on a per device basis. Just to give you an idea of the mesh point placement, I'm on the second floor. There's one of my mesh points, and this is the theater room. And then if we come across the hall, right down here is the office. So that little room down there, that's where my ISP router is. Okay, and for placement for the second mesh router, the one that's downstairs, it's in this little breezeway. So we've got a butler's pantry between the dining room and the living room. And so there's the mesh point. Right over there is my office. So it's basically just below the upstairs mesh point. And then in here is the living room, and then the kitchen. All right, so we'll run our first speed test right here by the new router and see what we get. We should be getting pretty high speeds. I'm paying for the 1 gig, and these routers support, this mesh point supports up to 1 gig. And this is Wi-Fi 6, so we should be able to get up to 100 devices on this, which is great because, like I said before, all of my light switches, doorbell, TVs, Roku's, all that stuff is connected. So we should be able to see top speeds on this network, and I'm getting 673 down and 383 up. So that's a pretty good start. We're gonna go into the next room and try this and see what we get. Now we're in the kitchen. We have an exchange student from Japan that we're hosting. She likes to do her homework and her studies right here in the kitchen. It's just a peaceful place for her to kind of get away from the commotion of the rest of the kids and do her homework and her studies. So signal has to be great here. So we'll go ahead and run our speed test. This is the back furthest corner away from the house on the first level. So this is about as far away from the router and mesh point as we can get, and I'm still getting really good speeds here. I'm getting 140 down, and I'm getting in the 100s up, so that's super impressive. All right, so now we're in the theater room. This room is actually right above the kitchen, so it's the furthest corner, and it's on the second floor. I'm not really expecting super fast speeds here, but I guess we'll see what we can get. We'll go ahead and run the test and see what we get. And I'm actually pretty impressed by this. We're getting over 100 meg down. That's pretty awesome. I wasn't really expecting those results. The signal on my ISP router is totally dead. We can't get any Wi-Fi here at all. So this is really awesome. Being able to get 125 down and 150 up. All my devices are gonna work just fine here. I'll be able to stream movies and do video gaming and everything that I need to do in my theater room. So that's awesome. I have removed the mesh point from the system. We're back on my ISP's router. So we're just gonna go ahead and see what the speeds are right here next to the router. So we're actually getting we were getting slightly better speeds, but it looks like we're getting about the same speeds right next to the router. So that's pretty much to be expected. That router can put out a signal through about maybe 1/3 of my house. So right here next to it, I should be getting pretty good speeds, and I am. We'll go ahead and move to the next part. All right, so we are back in the kitchen, and you can see that my signal is super weak. So where this comes in play is like when I have all of my devices connected to the router, which this is the only device connected to the router now, things are gonna get shady, things are gonna drop off and perform less because right now I'm on a 2.5 gigahertz network. So you can only have 10 devices on a 2.5 gigahertz network with my ISP. So when I connect everything up and as things get further away, my network's really going to be degraded. I'll go ahead and run a speed test, but the speed test is not going to tell the whole story here. So the speed here is a little bit slower, but the main thing here is I have a 2.5 gigahertz connection versus the 5.0 gigahertz connection that I would have had with my router. So I'm getting 90 down and about 30 up. So the speeds are definitely slower, but the main issue here is when I congest the network with all the devices, this is going to disconnect. It won't be, the connection here will not be stable on the ISP router. So that's the main difference. Next up, we're gonna head up to the theater room. All right, so we are back in the theater room. Let's go ahead and run a speed test. Once again, you can see that the Wi-Fi signal is kind of weak in here. So we'll go ahead and give this a run. So we're getting similar speeds, but there again, the main story here is that this will be an unstable connection when all of my devices are connected, with it being on 2.5 gigahertz. And you guys can see there, the upload speeds are pretty terrible from my ISP router. Overall, I think you're gonna have the better quality network with Motorola's MH7603 Wi-Fi mesh system, because you're gonna have a good, strong, robust 5 gigahertz network throughout your home, meaning you're not gonna lose speed on any of your devices, no matter how far away you are from the originating signal. That's the power of a mesh network. I'll be sure to leave links in the description of where you can pick yours up today. That about wraps it up for this video. Thanks guys for watching. Be blessed. I'll see you in the next one.